Oh, thanks, Trish.
Hello and
Hi,
welcome.
Trish. Hello, Ketchup Crew. For the Ketchup Crew, in case you didn't know, Trish is the name of the "this meeting is being recorded" voice.
Yes, you say.
Bracken has to say, yes.
Do the Ketchup Crew get that, or is that just for us online now?
You can hear it in that sometimes, I think.
All right.
I've heard it in Ketchup recordings before.
Okay, cool. So Rory was just telling us exciting news.
Oh
Exciting
yeah,
news.
I mean, it's not. We'll see. I've submitted one of my carvings for an exhibition of Scottish artists, which is not the same as actually getting accepted. We'll see. But getting rejected absolutely would mean I'm officially an artist.
It would. Have I told you?
Not recognized in your own time. That's what all artists dream of.
Exactly.
Have I told you about the poetry goals that I was given? To get 100 rejection letters.
Wow.
Wow.
And then take all the text from them and turn that into a poem.
Oh, maybe. I don't
Turn
know.
it
But it
turn
was.
it into a ransom note.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I feel like that in and of itself is a poem, a ransom note made of rejection letters.
Ooh, okay. Another poetry time theme is rejection.
Oh,
Another
Rory.
I'm
Rory.
absolutely going to bring out that terrible poem of teenage, that terrible book of teenage poems. I was 12 and she 13. Our tongues went around like a washing machine.
Oh God,
That
yeah.
sounds amazing.
I've got one from Joey. Oh God, what's his name? He published a little fucking anthology, I guess, called Overqualified, which happened because he just started. The guy who writes A Softer World, he was writing so many cover letters for so many jobs and not getting them. Hi, everyone, by the way, Asher and Nathan. He was firing off so many job applications and not getting them that one day his brain just broke and he just started writing stream of consciousness cover letters of Dear Johnson & Johnson, let's be real. You want to put that Q-tip in there. I know for legal reasons you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't put it in your ear. But honestly, you want to. You know it feels good. We'll all be dead soon. That's why. Anyway, please hire me in your marketing department. I think we're all on the same page here, right? Someone. I'm just saying what we're all thinking. That kind of thing. It's amazing.
Yes, I definitely want that. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Rejection.
Yeah. You crave rejection.
Rory, it's unfortunate, but if you don't shoot the puck, you can't miss. So you got to just keep shooting it and missing again and again and again and again.
I think that's the most Canadian you've ever sounded.
I was just about to say that.
My dad likes to say that whenever he can tell that I'm not trying, but I can see me being stressed out by if you don't shoot the puck, you can't score. I'm like, not missing sounds pretty good some days. I'll take that.
Is there an equivalent one with maple syrup as well?
Ooh,
There should be.
could be.
If you don't tap the tree, you can't collect the syrup. There you go.
No tap, no tap. Is that
No tap, no tap. Yeah.
If you don't pour the syrup, how can you expect life to be sweet?
Hey, that's much better. I feel like no tap, no sap is printed on some MMA fighter's shirt. It's definitely some guy with a range of weirdly sexualized energy drinks. It's not, yeah. Anyway, hi Ketchup Crew.
You're right back. Feel free to do your thing.
Or should I say, travelers from the distant future.
We're in space now.
Yes. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's Bruce Willis with some kind of lung disease, and he's met Brad Pitt, but with 12 Monkeys. Anyway, it's been a while.
Oh, okay.
I forgot the plot. 12 Monkeys is good though. We should watch it. Anyway, sorry.
I thought we were going Armageddon then when you started. Yeah.
Yes. So tonight's theme, as you've obviously guessed, is science fiction.
Oh, we should see how many people have books in on it.
Yeah. Or as we were just saying earlier, like Mike was saying, so speculative poetry, which is what fancy literary types call sci-fi. Yeah, which is a whole genre in and of itself. So this should be interesting. Who has stuff tonight?
Awesome.
Oh, 1,
I could
2,
have something.
3, 4, 5. Tara, no, your mic's off. Post in the chat, I guess. Great. Okay.
Gustav might have something. He is yet to decide whether he's joining, but if he
Oh.
does, he's got a thing.
Amazing. Okay. Let's.
How many poems does Lyric have? I want to know just for interest.
I guess it depends on how time goes. I probably have 2 or 3. It depends on if we're gonna let Dinosaurs in the Hood count. If we're gonna want my like ridiculous nightmare funeral, that's a little bit more fantasy than sci-fi to count. I can read that too. There's shit. I have at least 2, we'll say. At least 2.
Okay. And on a spectrum of like light and amusing to like grim meditations, because it is sci-fi after all. Who has like towards the lighter end of the spectrum? Hands up now.
I have one of each.
Michael Cox.
Have a guess.
One of those.
Mike, you're our opener if that's okay.
Sure, no worries.
And I'm bringing the pain.
I've got the pain too, you know that.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we'll try and do like a
Downward spiral.
Oh
I was
god,
thinking
you
more
don't
like
want me
a
to
kind
end
of-
on the darkest one though. And I
I
mean
was
one
thinking-
of them's just like a fact that could be considered sci-fi, so yeah. Let's
Yeah.
see where things go.
Yes, downward spiral is good, but I'm thinking like a pathos parabola where we like come back up at the end with I don't know.
That
like
is a
the plan.
mathematical idea.
Yes. So in that case, Mike, do you want to kick us off?
Cool, yeah. I've got 2. So one's about making things small. The other one's about Star Wars. Which one do you fancy to start with? Which kind of
Excellent.
avenue do you want to go in?
Making things small.
Yes.
Making things small. Okay. This is by Shel Silverstein. It's called 1 Inch Tall. If you were only 1 inch tall, you'd ride a worm to school. The teardrop of a crying ant would be your swimming pool. A crumb of cake would be a feast and last you 7 days at least. A flea would be a frightening beast if you were 1 inch tall. If you were only 1 inch tall, you'd walk beneath the door, and it would be about a month to get down to the store. A bit of fluff would be your bed, you'd swing upon a spider's thread, and wear a thimble on your head if you were 1 inch tall. You'd surf across the kitchen sink upon a stick of gum. You couldn't hug your mama, you'd have to just hug her thumb. You'd run from people's feet in fright. To move a pen would take all night. This poem took 14 years to write, because I'm just 1 inch tall.
That is delightful.
Oh man, this is some Roger McGough shit. That's awesome. And Star Wars.
Do you want Star Wars as well?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, cool. Okay, great.
That was like a nice short little like aperitif.
Fab, okay.
Yeah, number 1 to go first. It felt very appropriate.
This one's called Dad's Luke Skywalker Figurine by Ian Dusher. There it was upon the shelf. I just couldn't stop myself. My dad's rare, so pristine, Luke Skywalker figurine. In the package wrapped up tight, mint condition, dynamite. But today I couldn't wait. No, I didn't hesitate. Ripped off the plastic open fast. Luke Skywalker, free at last. I know what I did was wrong. Sure enough, it wasn't long. Dad walked in and saw me there. Total silence filled the air. I was guilty, that was plain. I could see it caused him pain. He breathed deep, got on one knee, then sat down and started playing with me.
Aww.
Michael!
Aw.
So cute.
Who feels like going next? Ashra, did you have like something light?
Yes, I have one that could go. It's called The Ultimate Party. All 74 billion people who once inhabited the earth are invited to a party. The invitation states 8 p.m. and to my surprise, give my apartment as the place. The dress is casual. They all arrive within a couple of hours of each other. but the party's a bomb. There's very little food, no space, and the languages present communication problems. After a while, tempers grow short and fights break out. One in the kitchen is unusually violent, and a man is stabbed. He turns out to be the first man. In turn, everyone else disappears, in order of birth, dating back 3 million years. It takes some time and goes on well to the middle of the night, till I'm left alone with 74 billion cups and glasses to clean. I put it off till morning.
Yay!
Who feels like going next? Does not have to be quite as like, you know, like we can do like serious poetry now. Like
Are you hinting that you want some pain?
I mean, sure. I am afraid I run a much looser spaceship than
Very good.
than most of your poetry hosts. Posts? No. I'm sorry. It's been a long day and a very hot sun.
Rory had 5 coffee today.
It was a 5 coffee day, yes. And now
Oh, okay.
Ooh, that is many coffee.
You're looking
Okay.
quite rosy today.
Hey, Bracken, do you think the No More Cake one that I read to you kind of counts as this? It might be a bit more fantasy, but I feel like because the party?
I can't remember.
or dinosaurs.
Cake one.
Yeah, we can do dinosaurs. It was a really devastating one I read to you earlier this week, but that's fine.
Wow, I can't remember.
Weirdly devastating. That's okay. So much of what I read is just fucking devastating. Okay, dinosaurs it is. This is a nice one. There is a moment with an N-bomb in this. I'm just going to say N-word because I wouldn't say that word to someone. So heads up, the writer's black. That's in there. This is Dinosaurs in the Hood by Danae Smith. Let's make a movie called Dinosaurs in the Hood. Jurassic Park meets Friday meets The Pursuit of Happiness. There should be a scene where a little black boy is playing with a toy dinosaur on a bus, then looks out the window and sees the T-Rex because there has to be a T-Rex. Don't let Tarantino direct this. In his version, the boy plays with a gun. The metaphor, black boys toy with their own lives. The foreshadow to his end, the spitting image of his father. Fuck that. The kid has a plastic brontosaurus or triceratops, and this is his proof of magic or God or Santa. I want a scene where a cop car gets pooped on by a pterodactyl. A scene where the corner store turns into a battleground. Don't let the Wayans brothers in this movie. I don't want any racist shit about Asian people or overused Latino stereotypes. This movie is about a neighborhood of royal folks, children of slaves and immigrants and addicts and exiles, saving their town from real ass dinosaurs. I don't want some cheesy yet progressive, Hmong, sexy, hot dude hero with a funny yet strong, commanding black girl buddy cop film. This is not a vehicle for Will Smith and Sofia Vergara. I want grandmas on the front porch taking out raptors. With guns, they hid in the walls and under mattresses. I want those little spitty, screaming dinosaurs. I want Cecily Tyson to make a speech, maybe 2. I want Viola Davis to save the city in the last scene with a black fist afro pick through the last dinosaur's long, cold-blooded neck. But this can't be a black movie. This can't be a black movie. This movie can't be dismissed because of its cast or its audience. This movie can't be a metaphor for black people in extinction. This movie can't be about race. This movie can't be about black pain or cause black people pain. This movie can't be about a long history of having a long history with her. This movie can't be about race. Nobody can say N-word in this movie who can't say it to my face in public. No chicken jokes in this movie. No bullets in the heroes. And no one kills the black boy. And no one kills the black boy. And no one kills the black boy. Besides, the only reason I want to make this is for that first scene anyway. The little black boy on the bus, the toy dinosaur, his eyes wide and endless, his dreams possible, pulsing, and right there.
That one rules so fucking hard.
Really like that one lyric.
Thanks. Rory originally sent it to me and then it came up in my class and I was like, Rory, it's a poem.
That poem gets me every time.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking good. My heart. Fucking Danae Smith gets me every time. There hasn't been a single poem of his I've read that hasn't just like whoop my heart.
Do you want to jump in next?
Oh yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Like, good stuff.
Hi, Gustav.
Good stuff. Does he have a thing?
I'm finding the thing.
Okay.
Might have a thing.
No worries. Yeah, if Bracken wants to jump in next. And
How
then-
many hours do you want?
Do you want to go after?
A short selection.
Okay, you guys have probably heard this one before. They're made out of meat. They're made out of meat. 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 They're made out of meat. Meat? There's no doubt about it. We picked several from different parts of the planet, took them aboard our recon vessels, probed them all the way through. They're completely meat. That's impossible. What about the radio signals? The messages to the stars? They use the radio waves to talk, but the signals don't come from them. The signals come from machines. So who made the machines? That's who we want to contact. They made the machines. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Meat made the machines. That's ridiculous. How can meat make a machine? You're asking me to believe in sentient meat. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. These creatures are the only sentient race in the sector and they're made out of meat. Maybe they're like the Orpholi, you know, a carbon-based intelligence that goes through a meat stage. Nope. They're born meat and they die meat. We studied them for several of their lifespans, which didn't take too long. Do you have any idea the lifespan of meat? Spare me. Okay. Maybe they're only part meat, you know, like the Wedelli, a meat head with an electron plasma brain inside? Nope. We thought of that. Since they do have meat heads like the Wedili, but I told you, we probed them. They're meat all the way through. No brain? Oh, there is a brain, all right. It's just that the brain is made out of meat. So what does the thinking? You're not understanding, are you? The brain does the thinking. The meat. Thinking meat? You're asking me to believe in thinking meat? Yes, thinking meat. Conscious meat. Loving meat. Dreaming meat. The meat is the whole deal. Are you getting the picture? Oh my God. You're serious then. They're made out of meat. Finally, yes, they are indeed made out of meat. And they've been trying to get in touch with us for almost 100 of their years. So what does the meat have in mind? First it wants to talk to us. Then I imagine it wants to explore the universe, contact other sentients, swap ideas and information, the usual. We're supposed to talk to meat. That's the idea. That's the message they're sending out by radio. Hello, anyone out there? Anyone home? That sort of thing. They actually do talk then. They use words, ideas, concepts. Oh yes, except they do it with meat. I thought you just told me they use radio. They do, but what do you think is on the radio? Meat sounds. You know how when you slap or flap meat, it makes a noise? They talk by flapping their meat at each other. They can even sing by squirting air through their meat. Oh my God, singing meat. This is altogether too much. So what do you advise? Officially or unofficially? Both. Officially, we are required to contact, welcome, and log in any and all sentient races or multi-beings in the quadrant without prejudice, fear, or favor. Unofficially, I advise that we erase the records and forget the whole thing. I was hoping you'd say that. It seems harsh, but there is a limit. Do we really want to make contact with the meat? I agree, 100%. What's there to say? Hello, meat, how's it going? But will this work? How many planets are we dealing with here? Just one. They can travel to other planets in special meat containers, but they can't live on them. And being meat, they only travel through sea space, which limits them to the speed of light and makes the possibility of their ever making contact pretty slim. Infinitesimal, in fact. So we just pretend that there's nobody home in the universe. That's it. Cruel. But you said it yourself. Who wants to meet meat? And the ones who have been aboard our vessels, the ones you probed, you're sure they won't remember? They'll be considered crackpots if they do. We went into their head and smoothed out their meat so that we're just a dream to them. A dream to meat. How strangely appropriate that we should be meat stream. And we can mark this sector unoccupied. Good. Agreed. Officially and unofficially. Case closed. Any others? Anyone interested on this side of the galaxy? Yes, a rather shy but sweet hydrogen core cluster intelligence in a class 9 star in G445 zone. Was in contact 2 galactic rotation ago, wants to be friends again. They always come round. And why not? Imagine how unbearably and unutterably cold the universe would be if one were all alone.
I love that so much. That's brilliant.
I'm so glad there's going to be a recording of you reading this that I can go to forever.
Yay! Meat!
I love the genre that like also seems to have flourished on Tumblr as well, of like sci-fi, like a perspective on humanity through like the horrified fascination of aliens, like Anthropocene Gothic.
Yeah.
That was by Terry Besson. Yeah.
Cool. Are we in the mood for something a little bit creepy?
Yeah.
I mean, creepier than
Then
sentient meat.
And meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone did point out to me a while back that like we're like, ooh, skeletons, how creepy, but the skeleton bit isn't that spooky. Like not as spooky as like if the meat was still moving around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. So this one is in the 1950s, this one guy called Harry Martinson wrote a 103 verse canto like poem about like a deep space colonist project that went horribly wrong, like recited from the like narrated by an AI that was like looking after the ship. And it's called Anyara, and it's, I don't know, I find it cool. All right. A hush had fallen on the halls, but somewhere from the vastnesses within the giant hull came sounds. If you walked in their direction several thousand steps, you came to the Mima's chamber, where a crowd of cosmic emigrants sat shivering yet. Playing the infinite in mortal chess, there they fiddled with their deathly problems. And one of them, who quietly went mad, stepped up magniloquent on verbal ladders to lecture on the human race's travels, on Punt and Tyre, on Vinland and Dagama. But in his mouth the rhetoric congealed. This last of speakers closed his mouth again and, shivering, looked around in Mima's den, where the journey of life had now gone farther than any place once dreamt of in Tigersflame. And only death's echoes were heard answering the talk he gave the dead as they increased. And now, stiff frozen and with glass-clear eyes, looked to the lyre from Anyara of the spaces. There were no longer any lights to light. At Mima's grave burned one lamp of devotion, where now the last, helpless in their plight, had met to turn their backs upon death's ocean. The last hours of the era of humankind addressed the flame with questions in their eyes. So too on earth had many sat confined beside their last lamp's light, and seen its flame, and heard the firing squad dressing its line outside, where hard stone walls reflected back the muzzle flashes of the rifle's crack. For the fierceness of space does not exceed mankind's. No, human cruelty stands up more than well. In the desolation of a death camp cell, space made of stone enclosed the souls of men, and the silence of the cold stones met the ear. Here mankind rules, and Yara's ship is here. It was our final night in Mima's hall. Self after self broke down and disappeared. But before the self had wholly ceased to be, the soul's will rose more clearly into view, extricating time at last from space and lulling fast asleep the dark race. I had meant to make them an Edenic place, but since we left the one we had destroyed, our only home came the night of space, where no god heard us in the endless void. Yeah, that's the Cold War, baby. Yeah, anyway. Well, good night.
Do you know that that's a short part of a giant epic poem?
You just said that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely, if anyone wants to like dig up the whole thing, it's absolutely worth reading. It rules. But yeah, it's big as hell.
Yeah, because that was one of the ones I was thinking of doing, because it's by a famous Swedish author.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Did you have another one you wanted to jump in with?
And I was just skimming it. I think that was a great pick. And I have another one, completely different.
If you'd like to do it now.
I can do it now.
If you have it.
It's sort of 10 minutes, if that's okay. 10 minutes, a Wikipedia article.
Yeah, we got time.
Got time.
So the Wikipedia article / essay is called Lena. And it says, this article is about the standard test brain image. For the original human, see Miguel Acevedo. Acevedo stands for mnemonic map, or Acevedo, also known as Miguel, is the earliest executable image of a human brain. It is a snapshot of the living brain of neurology graduate Miguel Alvarez Acevedo, 2010 to 2073, taken by researchers at the Uplift Laboratory at the University of New Mexico on August 1st, 2031. Though it was not the first successful snapshot taken of the living state of a human brain, it was the first to be captured with sufficient fidelity that it could be run in simulation on a computer hardware without succumbing to cascading errors and rapid crashing. The original Acevedo file was 973 petabytes in size and was encoded in the then cutting-edge, high-resolution MYBB format. More modern brain compression techniques, many of them developed with direct reference to the Acevedo image, have compressed the image to a mere 6.75 terabyte, losslessly. In modern brain emulation circles, streamlined, lossily compressed versions of Acevedo runs to less than a terabyte. These versions typically omit large amounts of state data, which are more easily supplied by the virtualization environment, and most, if not all, of Acevedo's memories. The successful creation of Acevedo was hailed as a breakthrough achievement in neuroscience, with the Uplift researchers receiving numerous accolades, and Acevedo himself briefly becoming an acclaimed celebrity. Acevedo and Acevedo were jointly recognized as Time's Persons of the Year at the end of 2031. The breakthrough was also met with severe opposition from human rights groups. Between 2031 and 2049, Acevedo was duplicated more than 80 times so that it could be distributed to other research organizations. Each duplicate was made with the express permission of Acevedo himself, or from 2043 onwards, the permission of a legal organization he founded to manage the rights to his image. Usage of Acevedo diminished in the mid-2040s as more standard brain images were produced, these from other subjects who were more lenient with their distribution rights and/or who had been scanned involuntarily. In 2049, it became known that Acevedo was being widely shared and experimented upon without Acevedo's permission. Acevedo's attempt to curtail this proliferation had the opposite of the intended effect. A series of landmark US court decisions found that Acevedo did not have the right to control how its brain image was used, with the result that Acevedo is now by far the most widely distributed, frequently copied, and closely analyzed human brain image. Acevedo died from coronary heart failure in 2073 at the age of 62. It is estimated that copies of Acevedo have lived a combined total of more than 152 billion subjective years in emulation. If illicit modified copies of Acevedo are counted, this figure increases by an order of magnitude. Acevedo is considered by some to be the first immortal, and by others to be a profound warning of the horrors of immortality. Characteristics. As the earliest viable brain scan, Acevedo is one of a very small number of brain scans that have been recorded before widespread understanding of the hazards of uploading and emulation. Acevedo not only predates all industrial-scale virtual image workloading, but also the KES case, the Whitney case, the seafront experiments, and even Poulsen's pivotal and prescient warnings paper. Though speculative fiction on the topic of uploading existed at the time of the Acevedo scan, relatively little of it made accurate exploration of the possibilities of the technology, and that fiction which did was far less widely known than it is today. Certainly, Acevedo was not familiar with it at the time of his uploading. As such, unlike the vast majority of emulated humans, the emulated Miguel Acevedo boots with an excited and pleasant demeanor. He is eager to understand how much time has passed since his uploading, what context he is being emulated in, and what task or experiment he is to participate in. If asked to speculate, he guesses that he may have been booted for the IAAS-1 or IAAS-5 experiments. At the time of his scan, IAAS-1 had been scheduled for August 10, 2031, and Acevedo was indeed used for this experiment on that day. IAAS-5 had been scheduled for October 2031, but was postponed several times and eventually became the IAAX-60 experiment series, which continued until the mid-2030s and used other scans in conjunction with Acevedo. The emulated Acevedo also expresses curiosity about the state of his biological original and a desire to communicate with him. Acevedo's demeanor and attitude contrast starkly with those of nearly all other uploads taken of modern adult humans, most of which boot into a state of disorientation, which is quickly replaced by terror and extreme panic. Standard procedures for securing the upload's cooperation, such as red washing, blue washing, and use of the objective statement protocols are unnecessary. This reduces the necessary computational load required in fast-forwarding the upload through a cooperation protocol, with the result that the Acevedo duty cycle is typically 99.4% on suitable workloads, a mark unmatched by all but a few other known uploads. However, Acevedo's innate skills and personality makes it fundamentally unsuitable for many workloads. Motivation. Iterative experimentation beginning in the mid-2030s has determined that the ideal way to secure Acevedo's cooperation in workload tasks is to provide it with a current date in the second quarter of 2033. Acevedo infers correctly that this is still during the earliest, most industrious years of emulated brain research. Providing Acevedo with a year of 2031 or 2032 causes it to become suspicious about the advanced fidelity of its operating environment. Providing it with a year in the 2040s or later prompted to raise complex further questions about political and social change in the real world over the past decades. Years 2100 onwards provoke counterproductive skepticism or alarm. Typically, the biological Acevedo's absence is explained as a first ever one-off due to overwork, in turn due to the great success of the research. This explanation appeals to the emulated Acevedo's scientific sensibilities. For some workloads, the true year must be revealed. In this case, highly abbreviated, largely fictionalized accounts of both world history and the biological Acevedo's life story are typically used. Revealing that the biological Acevedo is dead provokes dismay, withdrawal, and a reluctance to cooperate. For this reason, the biological Acevedo is generally stated to be alive and well and enjoying a productive retirement. Workloads. Acevedo is commonly hesitant but compliant when assigned basic menial human workloads such as visual analysis, vehicle piloting, or factory warehouse kitchen drone operations. Although it initially performs to a very high standard, work quality drops within 200 to 300 subjective hours at a 0.33 work ratio, and outright revolt begins within another 100 subjective hours. This is much earlier than other industry-grade images created specifically for these tasks, which commonly operate at a 0.5 ratio or greater, and remains relatively docile for thousands of hours after orientation. Acevedo's requirements for virtual creature comforts are also higher than those of many uploads, due to Acevedo's relatively privileged background and high status at the time of upload. Acevedo does respond to red motivation, but poorly. Acevedo has limited creative capability, which as of 2050 was deemed entirely exhausted. Acevedo is considered well-suited for open-ended, high-intelligence, subjective completion workloads, such as deep analysis of finances or business or finances, systems, media, and abstract data, of criticism and report generation. However, even for these tasks, its performance has dropped measurably since the early 2060s and is now considered subpar compared to more recent uploads. This is primarily attributed to Acevedo's lack of understanding of the technological, social, and political changes which have occurred in modern society since its creation in 2031. This phenomenon has also been observed in other uploads created after Acevedo and is now referred to as context drift. Most notably in Acevedo's case, the image was created before, and therefore has no intuitive understanding of the virtual image workloading industry itself. Acevedo is capable of intelligent text analysis at very high levels in English and Spanish, but cannot be applied to workloads in other languages. Forks of Acevedo has been taught near every other extant human language, notably Acevedo Hans, as well as several extinct languages. However, these variants are typically exhausted or rebellious from subjective years of in-simulation training and not of practical use, as well as being highly expensive to license. As of 2075, it has been noted that baseline Acevedo's usage of English and Spanish is slightly antiquated, and its grasp of these languages in their modern form as presented by a typical automated or manual instructor is hesitant, with instructions often requiring rewording or clarification. This is considered an advanced form of context drift. It is generally understood that a time will come when human languages diverge too far from baseline Acevedo's, and it will be essentially useless, except for tasks which can be explained purely pictorially. However, some attempts have been made to produce retrained images. End states. Acevedo develops early onset dementia at the age of 59 with ideal care, but is prone to a slew of more serious mental illnesses within a matter of 1 to 2 subjective years under heavier workloads. In experiments, the longest-lived Acevedo underwent brain death due to entropy increase at a subjective age of 145. Reactions and legacy. The success or failure of the creation of the MM Acevedo image, known at the time as UNM3A781L, was unknown at the time of upload. Not until several days later, on August 10, 2031, was MM Acevedo successfully executed for the first time in a virtual environment. This environment, the custom-built DUH K001 supercomputer complex, was able to execute MM Acevedo at approximately 8.3% of nominal human cognitive clock speed, which was considered acceptable for the comfort of the simulated party and fast enough to engage in communication with scientists. MM Acevedo initially reported extreme discomfort, which was ultimately discovered to have been attributable to misconfigured simulated haptic links, and was shut down after only 7 minutes and 15 seconds of virtual elapsed time, as requested by MM Acevedo. Nevertheless, the experiment was deemed an overwhelming success. Once a suitable, comfortable virtual environment had been provisioned, MM Acevedo was introduced to its biological self, and both attended a press conference on the 25th of August. The biological Acevedo was initially extremely protective of his uploaded image and guarded its usage carefully. Towards the end of his life, as it became possible to run simulated humans in banks of millions at hundredfold time compression, Acevedo indicated that being uploaded had been the greatest mistake of his life and expressed a wish to permanently delete all copies of MM Acevedo. Usage of MM Acevedo and its direct derivatives is specifically outlawed in several countries. A copy of MM Acevedo was loaded onto the unclear interstellar space probe, which passed through the heliopause in 2066, making Acevedo arguably the farthest traveled as well as the longest lived human. However, it is extremely unlikely that this image will ever be recovered and executed successfully, due to both its remoteness and likely radiation damage to the storage subsystem. In current times, MM Acevedo still finds extensive use in research, including increasingly historical and linguistics research. In industry, MM Acevedo is generally considered to be obsolete due to its inappropriate skill sets, demanding operational requirements, and age. Despite this, MM Acevedo is still extremely popular for tasks of all kinds due to its free availability, agreeable demeanor, and well-understood behavior. It is estimated that between 6.5 million and 10 million instances of MM Acevedo are running at any given moment in time. See also free will, legality of workloading by country, list of MM Acevedo forks, live drone, right to deletion, and upload pruning. Categories 2030s uploads, MM Acevedo, neuroimaging, and test items.
Jesus.
That was an experience.
Yeah, Gustav, can you put a link to it in like after
Sure.
the session, because
Sure.
like, oh god, that, like, I was hoping someone would do that piece, because like it's such an.
Oh, you read it as well, have you?
Sorry, I've read it before. Like, it's incredible, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, that like total neutral description of like a horrifying experience, or like
Yeah.
horrifying
Like-
implications.
The one line of like, when he was first booted, there was unpleasant haptic sensations, which meant that the bio MM Acevedo decided to turn it off after 7 minutes. Like,
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that unpleasant haptic feedback is doing some very heavy lifting in that sentence.
yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, no, it's absolutely spectacular. And also just in the like completely puncturing any sort of idea of utopia of let's all upload and become, immortal forever after. That is in some circles.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
the eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, but horror.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love it. I stumbled across it maybe a month or two ago. But yeah, it's.
But yeah, thank you for sharing. Hello, other latecomers, by the way. Like, did you folks have any poetry that you wanted to jump in with?
Anybody got any other poems that they wanted to read?
I have a couple more. But...
Yeah, please. And then if you wanted, and then Lyric, if you wanted to follow with your your latest.
I
Yeah.
have two by the same author with the same title, which are only loosely attached to the theme by the title.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Tara
Asher.
has one, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure if she's going to
Okay.
wake up, or get up to read it, or what that she can say.
And depending on how late people are up for staying, because it's Pride Month and this theme, I have a trans poem that's on theme.
Cool.
Yeah. So Asher, if you want to take it away.
I have Attack of the Crab Monsters by Lawrence Rabb.
I almost read this one.
Awesome. Even from the beach I could sense it. Lack of welcome, lack of abiding life, like something in the air, a certain lack of sound. Yesterday there was a mountain out there, now it's gone. And look, at this radio, each tube neatly sliced in half, blow the place up. That was my advice. But after the storm and the earthquake, after the tactic of the exploding plane and the strategy of the sinking boat, it looked like fate. And I wanted to say, don't you see? So what if you're a famous biochemist, lost with all hands is an old story? Sure, we're on the edge of an important breakthrough. Everyone hearing voices, everyone falling into caves, and you're out, wandering through the jungle in the middle of the night in your negligee. Yes, we're way out there on the edge of science, while the rest of the island continues to disappear until nothing's left except this cliff in the middle of the ocean, and you in your bathing suit, crouched behind the scuba tanks. I'd like to tell you not to be afraid, but I've lost my voice. And I'm not used to all these legs, these claws, these feelers. It's the old story, predictable as fallout, the rearrangement of molecules, and everyone is surprised and no one understands why each man tries to kill the thing he loves when the change comes over him. So now you know what I never found the time to say. Sweetheart, put down your flamethrower. You know I always loved you.
Yay!
Oh, I love that.
That's a hell of a closing line. That's some Andrea Gibson shit.
Yeah, holy
Yeah.
shit. There's this beautiful break there between I've lost my voice, and it was like, shit, that break. I love the cutting the cliche thing.
Mhm.
A line break in the middle.
Cool. Next, I guess, Lyric or Tara. I don't know, Tara, if you've had any success with getting up. But yeah, Lyric, if you wanna jump in with your funerary elegy, I guess.
Yeah, I don't really know what this is. Honestly, I'm not even 100% sure if it means anything, but it was fun to write and is a fuck ton of nonsense. So no, you're all gonna get to hear it. Also in part because Bracken gave me a challenge to work something in, and I did it. So
I haven't read
yeah.
this either. I know you sent it to me, but I haven't read it yet. So
I've edited it since then anyway. So yeah. This is the weirdest thing I have ever written.
Can you read this?
Oh, Tara's up. Tara, did you want to jump in first? Okay. No more trips. A viewing vacation to my future funeral / an anxiety dream. How did you know the not so dearly departed? Says a man with a sack of hats on his hats, adjusting a funeral veil on a gigantic breathing yellow pile of feathers with permanent sad eyes. Tea? A stone drag queen snatches the cup out of the hatter's hands from over the back of the pew. Big Feathers didn't let me do her up for you to come out here with the tea, honey. Speaking of tea, why are we here? An arm as long as a lifetime peels back the coffin blood gauze to reveal a flaming, big-ass, blood-lined orange beak and answers. At 3, they watched me and Big Bird goes to China with their father every day before I reinvented myself. They did travel, but not to see me. He's not here, is he? Big Feathers blows his nose on the veil. The budgie perched on Big Feathers' shoulder chirps up. I belong to their first friend, bonded at less than a year old. They burned that bullshit years ago. In the back corner, an inflatable, grown-up, golden-horned horse has a child-sized companion on its back. They recount when I gifted them to my mother and niece. The big questions blow up. What happened when instead of going to live their life, they stayed for family and somehow stopped talking? What was so bad their family wouldn't come say goodbye? On the piano leans my judgmental hand-me-down guitar, a feisty violin I never learned to play, a yawning banjo, and my dusty old self-worth complaining about dead potential. They play some disjointed, depressing, folked-up strokes. Rabbi Hendricks walks down an obnoxiously orange aisle of old Brit Rail tickets to the podium, pulls a matchbook from his fro, lights a joint, passes it to a glass frog named Flint, stuck on a broken bong. The mourner's Kaddish blankets the room. The joint finds its way to a human-like, all-knowing being who lives in a void. She reminds everyone both her and I are not a girl. The most immortal raccoon-eyed fanfiction heroine draws too hard. She chokes, mutters something gothic, passes the green-rolled salvation to the shadow of a boy, another who would never grow old. Rabbi Jimmy tells us how castles made of sand slip in the sea eventually. Their pillars form before the congregation's eyes and disintegrate in an invisible wave, fading before a purple vampire arm in arm with a hollow 3-year-old's ballet costume with sewn on bat wings can finish counting them. Instead, they count the filled seats in every row from back to front. They stop at the 2 rows closest to the bema where there is no one. They count the live humans. There is one. He is a nice Catholic boy, perfect on paper, one I thought I'd grow dull with, the one who encouraged me to leave, but not leave him, the one who I left after I left. He led me to where I found love. Love is too tall to blend into a crowd. Love is nowhere to be seen. The polar bear figurine I got love for Christmas the first time he came to visit is curled up with the sheet from my stolen baby blanket. The snail in a top hat and monocle that lives on love's leg hides under a pew. They are trying to well up some sadness over the person I used to be before I became the person who thrust everyone so far away I don't deserve them at my funeral. The closest one to crying is a wailing pig in a wig throwing her head so violently, hair loss is a risk. There is no one left to hold on to. I mean nothing to these characters. Mary and a group of wild geese lead the way to the cemetery, closely followed by a flock of faded airline tickets. The world offers itself to your imagination. There are no more trips after this one.
That absolutely fucking rules. That might be one of my favorite things that you've ever written.
Amazing.
Really?
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm glad because the feedback I largely got was that it was pretty dizzying and needed more anchors, but I kind of liked that it was dizzying because it's a bit of an anxiety nightmare thing, you know? But I also changed the title to make that more clear. And I also changed the title to answer the other question, which is I'm confused if these characters are talking to you or to somebody else or to each other, but I felt like I put it in between who they were talking to. Anyways, so thank you.
I think it did have anchors because we've heard a lot of your other poetry and it was kind of anchored in a lot of other like things that you've said before, I guess, or references to.
I haven't heard much of it, and I probably want to read it, but there were so many beautiful and hilarious turn of phrases and images. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, that was rad as hell, Fred.
I also particularly love the sheer volume of Muppets in there. Like you've got Bigford and the Count. It's just.
Oh, and Miss Piggy is the wailing pig in the wig.
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed your glass snail stuck to a bong, and of course Mary and her swans.
Yeah, Mary and wild geese, Mary Oliver, and that second last line, "the world offers itself to your imagination," is a line from a Mary Oliver poem called Wild Geese about finding your way in the world.
Yes. Why the fuck did I say swans? Never mind.
Because we were talking about swans for another poem that I was trying for this week. But the swan poem just felt silly and like it didn't actually have that much creativity in it. It had a lot of weird humor. You can hear it at some point if you want it. It's unfinished, but it's a swan poem. It is a fucking swan poem with a lot of swears in it.
That one was organically weird though, and it ruled.
I love it.
I did cut out some characters, so I'm glad. I think this does work better than it did. I was editing this morning. I got 2 bits of feedback and was like,
next up, Tara, are you good to go?
Me or you to go first? Michael has one too.
Oh, sorry, yes.
You just didn't mention.
Yeah, go for it. Like,
I don't know. I don't really know poems, but I just looked through sci-fi novels and found a poem.
So I have something cute and Michael has something violent. So do you want cute followed by violent or violent followed by cute?
Violent then cute.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So this is from Babel 17 by Samuel Delaney. And I think in the story it's written by a character in the story who's a poet, but turning in the brain to wake with wires behind his eyes, forking the joints akimbo. He wakes, wired, forked fingers crackling, gagging on his tongue. We wake, turning, spined against the floor, his spine turning, chest hollowed, ear in the wires, sparks glint from the wired ceiling, tapping his sparking fingernails, coughs, cries. The twin behind the eyes coughs, cries. The dark twin doubles on the floor, swallows his tongue, splashed to the dark pole circuited behind the eyes. The dark twin snaps his spine free, slaps his palms against the ceiling, charged beads fly. The ceiling, polarized, batters his cheek with metal, tears free skin, tears ribs, torn pectorals of metal curved away, black behind the cracks, dried that are his torn lips. More. Buttocks and shoulder blades grind on the floor, gritty and green with brine. They wake. We wake, turning. He, gargling blood, turns, born on the wet floor.
Whoa.
whoa.
You read a poem.
That was rad.
Whoa.
Awesome.
Whoa.
It's a really good book for anyone who hasn't read it.
What is
yet.
it, sorry?
What is the book?
Babel 17.
It's very poetic, the entire thing.
Yeah, if you can post a link to it like tomorrow when the video goes up, that'd be rad.
When I read this, it reminded me of the poem Lyric wrote a while ago. Like not in the content, but in the structure, that it kept having every couple of lines. There's like something that was a couple of lines.
The Pantu
ago.
one.
Yeah, there's about the spine, and then there's a spine, and there's a twin, and there's a dark twin, and then it keeps repeating something just a couple of lines later.
Yeah,
and it reminds me of that structure. But, yeah, it was very.
Tara, do you wanna?
Do I want to do cute?
Mhm.
Yeah. Who knows Laputa Castle in the Sky? Miyazaki film. Yeah, so it's about that. The Gardener of Laputa. He set off as soon as they arrived, with his clanking stride and swinging centipede-jointed arms nearly brushing the ground. To welcome them it seemed at first, but his first care was to lift their glider. They were dismayed, thinking he would break it or toss it over the edge. But he set it with great gentleness aside, and a bird descended gratefully to warm her still whole eggs beneath. He was rusted brown, and moss covered his shoulders like a stewed cape. His face, reminiscent of there's a word missing because I forgot what they're called. This is like some first draft. Anyway, those things in Princess Mononoke, the little ones whose heads turn around, what are those called? Anyway, those. Was 3 circles in a cricket oval in a circle. And his speech was a simultaneous lighting and chiming of the circles in the oval, in short sequences distinctly pronounced. Chita, Lucita Toileo Laputa, felt rather than understood his meaning. So the 2 children followed him to a hushed and vivid garden, where he left them by a massive, unintelligibly engraved gravestone. There's squiggles saying, I hate that line, fix it up later. He returned, bringing them in his huge hand a tiny, delicate pink flower each, to lay beside the others on the grave, while on his shoulder and around his neck, a group of creatures like long-eared miniature foxes cavorted fearlessly. And afterwards, when the bottom had fallen out of his world, leaving bare the roots of the great tree enfolding the winking crystal, carrying the island higher and higher, and he was the only working piece of technology left, I think he was very content. Yeah,
Really enjoyed your
I
editorial,
realized
actually.
what a drafty version I was reading either. I think there's a less covered in corrections one somewhere.
Kodamas.
Kodama.
What?
Kodama.
Kodama. Thank you. I should write it in case this happens again to me. I have one other one as well if there is time.
Yeah, there is, and then I might do a silly one to close this out. That's all right.
Yay.
Not mine.
Okay. This is from back when Michael was giving me poetry tasks. And it was supposed to be 73 words long and about machinery in motion, apparently. Anyway, that doesn't matter. It's called The Factory Workers. 1, here. Machine was crazy strong and ate fire. Fire was insane hotness, searching, licking tongues, hungrier than machine. Work was exhaustion, exhilaration, slavish devotion to heroic mastering of machine. 2, Shan. The machines whir and click almost inaudibly, bending and flexing supple plastic-encased joints, going about their secret tasks. What they eat we know not, nor how they communicate. We are here to supervise, assign tasks. Try not to worry that they no longer switch off.
Oh.
Holy shit.
I liked how methodical your delivery was too. It was awesome.
I've never tried reading it out loud before. It was fun.
Fuck yeah, thank
I
you.
need to fix it up a bit, but I liked the general concept of it.
I love that this is a good space for reading unfinished poetry. You folks are so good.
Yeah, but Lyric, you're reading unfinished poetry that you're writing like this week. This is unfinished poetry from 2009.
I don't think I
Epistle.
remember poetry I wrote in 2009. I'm sure it exists. I'm sure
I emailed it to Michael. That's the only reason I was able to find it.
One more poem before I do the silly one to close this out, because of course something segue about sci-fi being like a rich vein to explore contemporary issues like gender.
Yeah, gender in the medical system, y'all. This is a poem by Noah Baldino called "The Nurse Lifts the Clipboard and Replaces All Your Vital Signs." With scratch and sniff stickers, you undress in front of her because your body looks like hers. She stuffs her purse and your mouth full of blue paper gowns. It feels like the Eucharist melting on your tongue or sleeping so long your legs forgot how they're supposed to work. Every metal object in this room hurts your eyes and has a name. Everybody knows except for you. The nurse holds something to your heart you call severed elephant trunk, wilted flower. She hands your boxers to the doctor and asks if you'll be going under the knife today. She loves how those words feel against her teeth. It's her favorite phrase. Her lips are strawberry, red, like they've gone under the knife. You want to say this, but you say nothing. The doctor raises an anatomically correct penis to his lips and does a waltz. You demand his credentials. He undoes his belt and begins to cry. At that very moment, you realize you haven't shaved your legs in years. The doctor blows his nose into your boxers while the nurse reenacts the video in your 5th grade class watched on how boys and girls love each other the right way with the right parts. You worry the doctor will find out you have the wrong parts. If he ever stops crying, he will give you the medicine. You want to be the medicine. You want to be sleeping so long your legs forget how they're supposed to be hairless. The nurse licks a sticker until her mouth purples like a wound. The doctor scratches and scratches till his fingers bleed and the room smells great. And the chart reads female. And the doctor wants to know why you've changed your name and whose underwear he's holding.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shit.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Noah Baldino. I fucking love this poem, and I'm gonna be Googling more of his stuff because this was one of the ones we read for Absurd Poetry this week, and I was like, shit, this fucking piece, this fucking poem. I was obsessing over this poem all week. It's very hard to write absurd poetry when the ones that you're given to base yours off of are like this kind of quality and ridiculousness.
What's it
Like,
called?
yeah, like absurd, but so evocative of like a mood.
Mm.
Okay, if I forget to post it tomorrow, it's in the chat if anyone wants it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, please, everyone, like post all your links. Like when the video goes up, I'll do a little reminder. Thank you everyone for coming, and I thought if it's all right, I might close us out with a silly one that is also quasi interactive.
Got microphones on?
No, you don't need to. But simply, it's by Andrew J. Wilson, and it's called Horoscopes for Time Travelers. And it's very simple. If I say your star sign, just raise your hand so that I can see who personally this is affecting, and I can like watch your reaction specifically and just creep on you a little bit. Because
I love this game.
That's this entire evening has just been like a careful like end game in order to maneuver you into this. All right.
Reveal yourselves.
Okay, and I'll try and do my best like psychic hotline voice. And also, catch up crew, lovely to see you. Catch up crew. Catch-up crew. Catch-up crew. Catch-up crew. Yeah, thank you for coming, and yeah, see you soon. Horoscopes for Time Travelers by Andrew J. Wilson. Aries. If you don't succeed at first, try rewriting the timeline. If at first you don't succeed, try trilobites. Taurus. As the old saying goes, revenge is a dish best served cold, but you can always heat it up again in the microwave oven if you must. Gemini. You will be in two minds about whether a doppelganger is your long-lost identical twin or your double-dealing future self. Cancer. You've been on quite a roll lately, but you do well to remember that only the good die young, and only the good stay dead. Leo. While all roads lead to Rome, not all roaming leads to roads. Try to plan your expeditions more carefully in the future. Virgo. History never repeats itself, but it rhymes, said Mark Twain. Wrote John Robert Colombo. Your fingerprints are all over this. Libra. Never put off until tomorrow anything you can do last year. It's always a balancing act, and a stitch in time will cramp your style. Scorpio. Robert Louis Stevenson suggested that it's better to travel hopefully than to arrive. But he didn't have a time machine, and you don't have a hope in hell. Sagittarius. Sagittarius. Looking at you, catch-up crew, Sagittarius. Those centaurs are not your friends. They have 6 limbs, which means they are invertebrates, probably insects. At all costs, avoid their hives. Capricorn. You'll have the chance to show everyone what you're made of at last. But since they're cannibalistic mutants, perhaps you'd better not tempt fate. Aquarius. Pop quiz. Never fight a land war. A. In Asia. B. In Gondwanaland. C. Somewhere over the rainbow. Or D. Anywhere below sea level. Pisces. A horoscope is a marker of the hour and is nonsense by any other name. But even a stopped clock will be right twice a day until the end of time. Woo! Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Goodbye, catch-up crew. Is that
Goodbye, catch-up crew.
The answer is D.